anything else either. So feel free to call in and let us know what you're talking about, what you're thinking about. Uh, anyway, the number here is 773-1400. Y'all call in. Uh, today we have got Cal with us, and want to welcome him to the show. He's our good listener and good caller from Killeen, Texas. Uh, just he pays a lot of attention to the news media and things like that. And always comes with documentation for what he says. And we really appreciate that. You know, you get a lot of opinion out there, but opinion is one thing and truth and documentation is something else. And on today's media, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, all that kind of stuff, they sure have a lot of opinions. It's not always true, but it's their opinion. So we kind of like to honor truth around here. And if that supersedes political correctness, well, so be it. For those of you who prefer political correctness, you might be listening to the wrong show. At any rate, if you got something to say, well, call in. There's so much to talk about now, whether it's the new tax bill that just signed it, the immigration problems, DACA, so many things to talk about. North Korea, Red China's involvement, all these kind of things. Donald Trump just announced he wants to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem in Israel, and that has caused quite a stir all around the world. I'm not sure why it has, but I guess it has. Anyway, if you got an opinion, we'll call in. Let us hear what it is. Just a lot of things to talk about. The DACA program, that's on the news a lot. What do you think about the DACA program? There's 850,000 of those children. They're calling them children. The average age is 23. I think they quit calling me a child when I turned about, I don't know, 6 or something. But here we are calling these people children, and the average age is 23. They're not 10, they're not 12, they're 23, if that's the average age. Well, at 23, I would expect them to be out there working, performing some kind of work, making a product of some kind, paying a few taxes, things like that, but no. They want to either put them in the military, which is fine, or put them in college. Well, if you put them in college, who's going to pay for the college tuition? Oh, that would be us, the taxpayer. What are we going to, what kind of a course are they going to take? Would it be, what would it be? Would it be welding, carpentry, roofing, or I guess it could be underwater basket weaving, or the study of the South African mating habits of the South African tree frog. They could get some federal grants for that, I'm sure. But my point is, if they're going to be here and they're going to be Americans, why don't they go to work? We have a labor shortage in this country, and if you don't believe it, go talk to any business, whether they're a home builder or a mechanic shop or whatever kind of business you want to talk to. Ask them what their number one problem is. Their number one problem is the lack of labor. Nobody is being taught to work anymore. Oh, most of us older folks have lived with a thing called the work ethic most of our life, and we believe that we should work for what we get. But all of a sudden, that's not the way it is. I think Cal has got some comments about this.
Yeah, I was listening to, what do we call it, the Power Lunch on DirecTV. That's channel 355. It comes on about noon, Power Lunch. And they had Mr. Matt Ferguson, who is a career builder CEO, and he was saying the biggest lack that we have right now that CEOs from other companies that come in and talk to him, the biggest lack is skilled trade. And those things like a mechanic or welder and the things you were talking about. And he was talking about they need more skilled trade people here, and they need to get vocational schools going where someone who's in the 10th grade already knows what they want to become, a mechanic or something like that, or electrician or such, and that person, by the time they graduate, they're already several steps ahead, or might even be certified and such. But with all the jobs that are coming up, a lot of them are going to be for skilled trades. And it's not necessarily, I know you pointed it out once before very clearly, that by the time you go through 4 or 5 years of college, spend all that money, and then come out not having a job or can't get something, a good job to help pay back all those school loans and stuff, it'll be another 8, 10 years. You'll be behind the power curve, not having really making any money because you're paying off your school loans and such. So yeah, Mr. Ferguson, he elaborated on that very clearly about the need for skilled trades.
Well, let me inject just a little bit. Now, I don't want to talk about me because I'm not who we talk about around here. But I know a feller that in the ninth grade in Houston, they came through and gave aptitude tests to everybody. This poor young man raised in the country, just worked since he was about 10. But anyway, they gave him an aptitude test, and they said, well, he's probably not going to go to university. Uh, so they put him in a vocational, a technical vocational high school called Houston Technical Vocational High School. And he chose to take welding. So he had a welding class 3 hours a day. Then he had math and science and whatever else. Anyway, regular high school courses. But after the first 2 years of welding, uh, he went out and applied for a job at Modern Welding Company in Houston. And this was in 1959. It wound up that his average pay was $105 a week, which not a whole lot now, but it was a lot back in 1959. That summer, they had a car, and he asked them how much. They said $750. He paid them for the car. Then he, after uh, went back to the senior year, 12th grade, the superintendent there said, can you come in after school and work? So this young man, since how he was raised to work with a work ethic, he said sure. So he went to school, got out at 3 o'clock, punched in at 3:30 at Modern Welding, and worked till 11 or 12 o'clock and punched out. My point of that is this young man was self-sufficient in the 12th grade in high school. He got out of high school, he graduated, and went to work and was making really good money. He was working 7/12 at a place called KC Manufacturing, and he was making really good money. Okay, compare that to today. We think that if a young man or woman doesn't go to college to get a degree, there's some kind of mentally retarded or something. There's something wrong with them. Well, go get you a student loan. You'll graduate college owing about $50, $60, $70,000. Plus, you didn't have any income for that 4 years. So, what is the negative? 100 and something thousand minus. Why don't we have more technical vocational high schools? Why don't we do that? Why don't we turn out seniors out of high school that know how to do something? We have a labor shortage. My daughter is a developer. She builds houses. Her number one problem is she can't find any labor. And some of the labor she does hire uh, spend more time smoking pot than they do working. So we have a real problem with lack of labor. As Cal was just pointing out, ask any businessman. look at, as you go down the highway, look at how many signs say uh, CDL drivers needed. I think every trucking company in this country has got a sign up that says they need drivers.
Yeah, for sure.
Do we graduate any? Of course, they're too young, I guess, at age 18 to be a CDL driver. I don't know, they might be, but do they ever take any driving classes with a big truck? Do they? What are we graduating seniors? What do they know how to do? And where does this take us?
Yeah, I think that thinking about the truck drivers, if they want to get with the school and set up classes, they have different periods and stuff, and those who might be interested in their senior year could, spend a certain amount of time with the trucking business, so that when they, graduate, come on in, finish up, and there they go. Within a matter of 6 months, they could be, making somewhere around 60, 70,000.
Yeah, and they don't have to start driving a truck if they just rode with a truck driver
Yeah,
for 4 months or 3 months, whatever it is. It's amazing how much you learn just by observing. You observe what the truck driver does. Observe how he turns a corner. Observe what he does to get where he's going with the load he's carrying. Uh, I'm just saying that when they did graduate high school, they could go into a truck driving school and come out and they'd know more than the average that goes into that school. So let me tell you one more story. I've got a grandson that decided he wanted to be a crane operator. He was out of high school and he didn't want to go to college, so he found a place I think in Colorado that trains crane operators. Well, he makes so much money now operating a crane it would scare you. And he doesn't have a PhD degree in crane operation, but he's making very, very nice money. Uh, I've got a friend who works in the oil patch up in around Odessa. I think I'm correct. He said he's working 120 hours a week at $20 an hour. Do the math, folks. That's pretty good money, and he does not have a PhD degree. Uh, he just knows how to work. So why don't we have more of those kind of people instead of so many that just live off of the government?
sure.
And it doesn't matter if it's government welfare or if it's government student loans or if it's government other things. We need people that can produce things, be productive citizens, go to work, raise their family, pay their taxes, be a good example in our society. That's another thing. What's the best teaching aid known to mankind? It's example. So if we have people who have babies out of wedlock, and one demographics in this country, 75% of them don't have a father in the home. What do those kids learn? Do they learn a good work ethic? Well, there's no father there. Now, there are, let me say that there are some people out here that were raised in a single parent home and they have become very, very fine citizens of this country. But the vast majority of them raised in a single parent home, that's not necessarily true. So I don't mean to criticize anyone raised in a single parent home, but the pure fact is they don't have the experience or the exposure to things like the work ethic. I believe we got a caller. Yes, caller, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Ron. This is Steve.
Yes, sir. I know it. Well, I got that load almost loaded, and I thought I was coming your way, but
Let me go get it.
okay. Just just hold on, and we'll come fetch that. I sure do appreciate that. Uh, yeah, I was supposed to.
Real interesting election cycle this time. Very important from the top to the bottom of the ballot across the nation. I think you'll enjoy the article.
Well, sure, I sure will. And you know, you bring up an awful good subject that we all need to be thinking about. Uh, oh, okay, okay. Well, what AC is talking about is that the primary season is right around the corner. And I have said before, if you like your representative or your senator, vote to keep him in there. If you don't like him, vote for the opposition. But it's our choice. We're the ones that control Congress. You know, we live in a republic that votes democratically. So, you know, don't get mixed up between republic and democracy. Democracies don't work, and there's a reason they don't. That's why we live in a republic in this country. It just gripes me to the no end to hear a politician talking about saving this democracy we live in. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a republic. The difference is a republic is governed by a set of rules. In this case, we call it the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, that kind of thing. And you can change our Constitution, but it's not very easy to do. So basically, it's much like the Ten Commandments. If you don't like the commandment that says "Thou shalt not kill," you can't just go down and vote and change that commandment.
That's what he wanted to get you.
Thank you, sir. Well, that's the way a democracy, by a vote of 51% or 50% plus one vote, you can change the law. There was one I think representative race recently that was decided by one vote. Well, in a republic, you can't change the Constitution just because somebody wants to. It can be done, but it's pretty difficult. 2/3 of the states have to agree and things like that. So I am proud of the fact that we live in a republic, not a democracy. And I think we will exercise our rights this coming primary season. Let's study the issue, folks. Let's study how that representative or senator has voted. If he claims to be a conservative and he votes for conservative causes, put him back in there. If he claims to be a conservative but he votes for liberal causes, then you might want to consider changing who we run for that office. I think we've got a commercial break coming up. And I guess we better try to pay a few bills around here. The radio station likes to have money every now and then, so we better have a commercial break.
I left and I came back.
Did you leave?
I did leave. That's why I was saying Merry Christmas. I was leaving.
Okay.
I just want to make sure he gets the webcam and the flash drive. He gets it in the bag, and he gets it and he takes Inky's present to him.
Okay.
Anyway, so I came back because I had to take a picture of you. I got a new picture of you.
Oh, okay.
And I'm so sorry. I got to move you so I can get over there. I know these chairs are more comfortable, right? But they take up so much room. You want me to go get it for you?
Let me pull this one off. Let me pull this
Holler at Academy Bank Deposit. Their phone number out there is 982-0047. That's 254.
You gonna look up? Conn.
They're located at 20.
Wait a minute. You can't do that.
North Highway 95. That's the
Little River again. So give them a holler.
Now then.
Okay. Now I got to put some highlights under your face to get your eyes in there.
Family owned and operated farm located in Conn.
See if the last digit is 0 or 6.
Yeah.
They are highly productive, big, dual-purpose birds, so you can have large, beautiful, colored eggs for your family breakfast or a nice-sized chicken for dinner. If you're not local, they ship chicks and hatchlings eggs all over the great state of Texas. They also raise some gorgeous, rare, and endangered chicken breeds.
Every time
They
I try to
invite
listen
you
to
to learn about
the phone
them
number,
and
somebody's
enrich
talking.
your flock with these
It's not
incredible
me, which
birds
is unusual.
while helping to continue these breeds' existence. Ask for Tina Gary, and her number is at 210-215-7610. Don't let the 210 throw you off because they've been here for about 12 years in this area. Okay, their website is www.asgard.com. Of course,
Jose
they're on
wanted to go with me
Facebook.
tomorrow
Their
to the farm.
email
He was
is
going to come with y'all into town when she came to church. But Andy just told me that you all need him back at 4, and so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, folks, let's talk a little bit about getting your business or your home electrified
She said
or
something
air
about New
conditioned.
Year's Eve.
Dean Electric
tomorrow
and
night,
Air
celebrating New
Conditioning are an
Year's Eve.
experienced business
Is that a Christmas
serving
Eve?
the greater Austin, Killeen area with professional, top-quality electrical
I think she's a
products,
week ahead of
including
herself. She said
electrical
New Year's
construction,
instead of Christmas Eve.
electrical service upgrades, and home warranty. The AC side of their company serves many brands of
It might
air
be best to stay
conditioning
locked
as well as providing full-use installation. They do exemplary work, have friendly customer service, and reasonable rates. So if you need any type of electrical wiring or AC work, give them a holler. Their offices are located in Killeen at 502
I was on it. I
South
forgot what
7th
you
and
had.
their
She said
phone
red
number there is
skeleton.
254-271, no, 371-5016. That's 254-371-5016. If you're in Williamson County or Travis County, you can call them at 512-694-3440. That is 694-3440, area code 512. Give old John up there a holler and he'll get your electricity going for you. Okay, folks.
So what did you want me to find for the red skeleton? You said it was the
it's him reciting the national anthem.
National anthem?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm finna say
it's either national anthem
they
or
got
pledge.
All I'm seeing is a bunch of Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, if you want me to, I'll just have it loaded up on the side, and whenever you want to do it, just let me know and I'll play it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll if I do this, it's time to do that.
Okay. That works. That works.
Gotta have hand signals around here.
I had some statistics. On
Oh, sing it pretty, George.
on fatherless children.
Mm-hmm.
About that they're 5 times more to wind up
In prison.
to spend their life poor.
Yeah.
5 times to wind up spending their life poor. They're 9 times likely to drop out of school and hit the streets, and 20 times more to wind up in jail.
Read that for me.
Huh?
On there.
On
let me just plug you into that.
Okay.
You know, I'm always talking about that. But I guess talk about too much, but that's the root of problems in this country.
Yeah, this is from Larry Elder.
Yeah. Aha! Sing it pretty, George. Some of that good old Texas music. Oh, I like that kind of music. Pardon me, I just never have gotten used to the cop killer rap kind of stuff. But at any rate, here we are back after the break, and we'd like to have Cal read some statistics on children without a father in the home. I think it's interesting, and it really does demonstrate what I was just talking about a while ago.
Yeah, the information I have came from Larry Elder, and I think a lot of people know Larry Elder. He's been on the TV news. He has his own talk show, I believe.
Good man to listen to.
Right, and he was on there the other day, and he said that a kid that doesn't have a father is 5 times more likely to wind up poor in their life. They're 9 times more likely to drop out of school and hit the streets, and they're 20 times more likely to wind up in jail. Those are 3 statistics he gave concerning kids without fathers in the house.
Okay, that's the result of this. What would help a mother decide to have a baby without being married? Could it be $637 a month? And they can do it times 4. So if they get $637 a month times 4 is $2,500 a month, whatever it is. If they get all the other benefits that can go along with that, why would the husband want to stay with the mother? You know, he can just float around out there in the community somewhere and come back and just, he doesn't have to work. Now, if he doesn't work, does that set the example for those children to work? No, it does not. So what are we doing to ourselves with all of the welfare benefits? Now, I'm old enough to remember that when someone got welfare, it was because they were sick, an invalid, some medical reason, generally, why they got federal, state or federal assistance. But now, that's what qualifies people now to get government assistance. Too lazy to work? I don't know. What is it? How do people qualify for assistance? Is my question. And I guess there's lots of reasons, but the reason used to be that you were medically afflicted in some way. But what is the reason or excuse now?
Oh, there.
I think we've got Cal back on the.
Yeah, for a while there, I couldn't hear anything.
Well, maybe it's better off, Cal.
That it's pretty loud. But yeah, he went on to say that the way Larry Elder put this out was that, you know, the Democratic Party, the far left, is good at giving out welfare, and the same thing with the illegal immigrants coming into the country. You know, they look at the Democratic Party as being their friend, and they're going to get their vote.
It's how they buy votes.
Exactly, and this is I think Donald Trump is trying to turn this around and put up borders, and at least, you know, I think his feeling is not that he doesn't want people to come in, but he want them to come in the right way, the legal way, and become a citizens that way.
Well, let me inject a little bit here. Just
on the Tucker Carlson show last night. He read some statistics about illegals living here in this country. You hear all the time from the liberals that the illegals don't commit any crime, and they are afraid to turn in criminals because of being deported. So, but apparently that is just a big old lie. 22% of murders happen by 7% of our population, and that 7% is here illegally. 20% of the murders. Okay, 75% of drug crimes are committed by people living here illegally. You know, and if you listen to the stats, it demonstrates that this idea that illegals don't commit crimes, that's a straight lie. 1 in 5 people in prison are illegals. 95% of our people in prison are here, they're foreigners, here illegally. 95% of federal prisoners are here illegally. You know, it's just amazing how the truth is not told by our news media. Everything you hear is, well, the illegal people are afraid to do any criminal activity. They're afraid they'll get deported. Well, it's right the opposite. They come from a country where the law is not like it is in our country. They don't respect the law that we have in this country. Now, that's not all immigrants. I'm not talking about all immigrants, but I'm just saying, if we don't get a handle on who and what comes into this country, this is going to continue, and it's going to get worse. Because some of the countries that these people come from, they don't have the same kind of statutes and law that we have here. So they have, all their life, they've never obeyed the laws and the culture that we have here in this country. If you want to change this culture, then just flood the country with people that don't have the same culture.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I wanted to, one thing that really touched me this week was the way Nikki Haley handled herself in the embassy. I mean, in the UN there. And, you know, I think that's a very smart move that was made there to move Jerusalem to Israel. Then the UN calls an emergency meeting, and now we know that there's 128 countries, and the United States gives a lot of money. I mean, they're the ones holding up the UN. But now we know these 128 countries that voted against us, moving, you know, putting our embassy in Jerusalem there.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, Cal. I could not agree more with Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. They said we're not going to forget this. We're taking names, you know, and
Right.
They're absolutely right. You know, I brought this up before. It's been on Fox News. Did you know we give the Palestinians $300 million a year? You know what they do with $100 million a year?
Yeah.
They reward suicide bombers' families. They're paying with U.S. tax dollars to reward and encourage suicide bombers. Is that where you? I don't know when or where this program started to give them $300 million a year, but I guarantee you Donald Trump didn't start it, but Donald Trump may end it. So, you know, there was a lot of discussion earlier about the kind of a job that Donald Trump has been doing. There's a lot of criticism of Donald Trump, but I don't think it's coming from Cal.
No. I mean, this tax bill, another thing I was very proud of, I guess you would say, is the tax cut that the bill that they passed. And right off the bat, I have some of them listed here. The people that came, what was it, AT&T, Comcast, Sinclair, Boeing, Wells Fargo, PNC, and Fifth Third Bancorp, and even now NBC and MSNBC are giving as much as $1,000 bonuses to their employees.
Because of the tax cut bill.
Right, because they look at it and they know that they it's a good bill. Yeah, I heard one place on the news where they said, someone is going to be paying $2,000 more income tax, but the person makes $1 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
poor devil.
I said, wow.
I just don't know how he's going to make it. You know,
there's no way.
He may be on food stamps next. You just don't know. You know.
Yeah. I wanted to tell you, I wore my shirt. I see you recording this. I don't know if they can see that on there or not. You see what it says?
Yeah.
I believe in draining the swamp.
You better believe it.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
When he's talking about draining the swamp, I don't think a lot of Americans understand what he's saying. I don't think they understand what career liberal politicians are doing to our country in the name of getting a few more dollars for their personal bank account. I'm not sure what motivates liberal Democrats to do what they do. Chuck Schumer, I don't understand how his brain works. I really don't. But these people have a voice and they have power. And they want to defeat Donald Trump for two reasons. One is they don't want to lose that power that they have. And that power translates into lots of money. Why do you think lobbyists give representatives or senators lots and lots of money? They're buying the vote of that senator or that representative. So these representatives and senators, they don't want to lose that power because it translates to lots and lots of money. Look at the net worth of Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Chuck Schumer, whoever. Look at what they're worth. Now, they don't live in a poorhouse. They're getting richer by the minute. And boy, they oppose Donald Trump. And that's the reason, one of the reasons they do.
Yeah, and what is it? Nancy Pelosi is $49 million.
Yeah.
I think I stated that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what have you heard her say that is so brilliant? What have you heard her or Maxine Waters say that really contributes to the security and the greatness of this country? What have you heard of? Now, and does any of them really value a thing called truth? I sure haven't seen it, if they do.
Well, you saw Nancy Pelosi come on and made reference to the new tax bill that was passed and lined it up with Frankenstein movie out there. That's ridiculous.
That's sick. It takes a sick mind to come up with that kind of trash. And you can't. She's a fixture in the Congress. Apparently cannot be defeated. Yeah. Why can't she?
Well, I guess in politics, you go up there and everybody do different things. Under the table, under the rug, hide. Well, you do this for me, I'll do this for you, and it's favors and things like that. And that's what's so bad, that they get in these places and they get locked in rather than bring in new blood.
Right, and the longer they're there, the more power they accumulate.
Right.
And and then how they use that power. I have said numerous times about Hillary Clinton. I really believe that they do not put her in jail. They don't try to prosecute her because of two things. She either scared them off or she bought them off. I think that happens in this country, sadly. But I think it's a reality.
That might be coming to an end now, because recently I think it was Sessions who said that I believe he's going to open up the case on that nuclear deal, Iran nuclear deal.
Well, I hope he does. You know, here in the news here recently, they're talking about how Obama pretty much stopped the runaway drug trafficking and other things that Hezbollah was doing. Now, Hezbollah is a serious kind of a terrorist group, and apparently they were being funded by their drug operations. And the DEA, FBI, federal agencies that were kind of on top of that, I guess were pretty much told to stand down and leave that alone. Well, if they're financing their terrorist operations with drug money, why would the Obama administration be told to stand down and not investigate and stop that? But what's the reason? What is the common sense, logical reason to tell our agencies to stand down? I have a question for you. How much was somebody getting out of that? Did members of the Obama administration or Obama himself, were they receiving benefits from those drug operations? I don't know, but I think it's a fair question that we should be asking. Because why would you not want to punish a terrorist organization like Hezbollah that is using drug money to empower themselves? There's so many things like that that just common sense dictates that you ask the question.
Yeah.
Look at the Iran nuclear deal. Look at the nuclear contract, whatever you want to call it, that Obama funded. 160 billion with a B, 400 million cash money on pallets in an airplane delivered at midnight. Come on, folks. Where is your ability to ask the question? What was in that for America? What did we get out of this? Normally, if I go down somewhere and I give somebody $10, I get $10 worth of something. It might be socks or a candy bar or a Dr. Pepper, but if I give somebody money, I get something for the money. What did America get for the 160 billion? I keep losing track, but it was a lot of money. What did we get for the 400 million in Swiss francs, gold bars, whatever it was? What did we get? Then we got a caller that's going to tell us what we got. Yes, caller, go ahead. Hey, I know you. Go ahead on. Pretty good. Well, thank you for that compliment.
I just wanted to talk about Donald Trump's tweet program prior to you, kind of like comment from Bill White. Well, the one that I think was supposed to be a professional politician. Anyway, a professional politician is none other than Joe the guy who automated ran for some post in politics, never came from a middle class man because but anyway, a lot of people are in the same boat about Donald Trump's tweet line. As far as picking him for vice president, that's fine. Joe Biden's example really put a encyclopedia or dictionary.
Well, let me inject something right there, along the line of what you're talking about. Do you know how many checks Joe Biden has got from industry in his lifetime? Do you know how?
Probably, you know, you're talking about handout for decisions in the bank party. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about checks under the table. I'm talking about a paycheck from somebody he worked for. He has never drawn one in his life. Now he said that.
He's worked over like what, $2 million?
So,
Someone pays $2 million for a lifetime politician. Oh, I don't.
but his entire life has been spent in government work. He's never drawn a paycheck. Do you know somebody else that has only drawn a paycheck from working for some welfare agency? You know who that was? That was Bernie Sanders.
Bernie, oh,
He's never drawn a check out in the industry. So these are people we choose to tell us how to. Yeah, yeah.
Bernie doesn't like it.
Well, Donald Trump tweeting is the least of my concerns.
Well, it seems like everybody that's an expert out there in, you know, politics doesn't want it.
Maybe they don't want to hear the. Well, you know, I look at that like the movie that I quote quite often called A Few Good Men, where Jack Nixon's on the witness stand. They said, "Tell the truth, tell the truth." He said, "You can't handle the damn truth." Well,
Absolutely.
And well, you know, if he has to tweet to get the truth out there because of the left-wing liberal media, that it's the only choice he's got. So if you don't like what he's saying, maybe you can't handle the truth.
I don't think people can. They just can't stand it. Mind fighting back and actually using the war of words. Now,
Well,
A little bit less. I think it was 180.
180 what counts it.
Characters, yeah. I'll tell you something. I look forward to his tweets. If he don't put them out, I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they won't see in the end. Well, I can tell you, I can't tell you where the scripture is, but somewhere Christ said, "If ye are neither hot nor cold, but are lukewarm, I will spew you out of my mouth." Exactly. And well, another quote I use pretty often is, I think it was Stonewall Jackson, the general, that said, "You're either with me or you're against me." Now, if somebody's looking for a reason to be against Donald Trump, they can pick on the tweets or his hairstyle or what kind of shoes his wife wears or some other.
Oh, he drinks too many Diet Cokes.
Yeah,
and that's supposed to cause dementia,
yeah.
Right? and the way he picked up a bottle of water with two hands.
Yeah,
yeah. It's ridiculous.
Okay. Excuse me, everybody, but I think Aaron is telling me that he has got to play a commercial. So, hey, don't lose the phone number, Rick. I know you won't. You have a Merry Christmas out there. Let's talk about communication. Fulkerson Communications, they are a leader in communication. Fulkerson Communications brings over 40 years of experience to provide reliable and cost-effective solutions for all of your telecommunication needs. They offer consultation, design, sale, installation, and implementation of service of phone system and specialty applications, as well as network solution, phone system, IP setup, and structured cable, voice over internet protocol technology for small and large business. Now, all of you know that I'm not very savvy in the high-tech world, so I'm doing the best I can. So I have no idea what I just described to you, but I do know these people will do you, and they're there for you.
I got up here in 2015 after I graduated from UMHB. So I started working the boards for like the football games and everything. And then by that next summer, I started being on air, hip hop station and everything. And then in May, I became the brand manager of this.
0016.
Central Texas home for news radio.
You gotta go to school to learn this stuff, don't you?
Oh,
you just pick it up.
Yeah, you pick it up. But I mean, like I said, I got my bachelor's in communication. So,
okay.
So I mean, what I want to do is kind of get to somewhere where I'm actually doing like some broadcasting type stuff and everything. So just trying to get a start somewhere.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. It all helps.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like it's just stuff to just boost the resume. Just build the resume. So.
Yeah, that's the way you do it.
Maximize his targets. The FBI filed a terror charge against
This is the second time I've been here. Yeah, you come by, and I was
long, but say they had no idea.
wow, boy.
Hope this all stems
it's not as
from
bad
a
as
complicated domestic
Yeah, once you get to working with it.
At least 33 people
Yeah,
in
that's
a passenger bus veered off a bridge
up
to
there
be
and
plunged into a river in the western Indian state of Rajasthan.
So like his commercials,
police say the speeding bus was
they're in one folder or something?
Yeah, like
out.
all I gotta do is like just put in Conn and then they'll come up. I just drag them over.
Across the country, the Lakeside Ball in New Orleans, so busy. Workers like True Smith says she hasn't even had time to shop for herself.
I've been working doubles all week for Christmas, so I can get the gifts that I've been wanting to get my family.
Christmas Eve especially considered one of the busiest and crucial shopping days of the year. Fox's Derek Dennis, a senior Russian diplomat, saying the U.S. move to provide Ukraine with lethal weapons will only fuel the conflict in the eastern part of that country. The sale by the U.S. of anti-tank missiles to Ukraine would be a significant escalation in U.S. support for Ukrainian government forces who since 2014 on Ukrainian territory have been battling Russian-backed fighters, separatist fighters. Fox's Steve Harrigan traveling with the president in West Palm Beach, Florida. Fox News, fair and balanced.
I'm in almost every school bus and class. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm doing every 5 children.
That's a commercial. It's Fox News.
Oh, I thought I'd heard that before.
My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed
some of these commercials, like
there's
one comes on, sound like about a 10-year-old boy saying, "Mommy, when we go to the grocery store, mommy, 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 mommy."
Oh yeah.
I just hate that, man. Because if your 3-year-old child is in the car and hears that, what are you teaching that 3-year-old child to do?
Yeah, the same thing.
Mommy, I want a candy bar. Go to the store.
Right, he got away with it. Look at that. So
Yeah, exactly. You're encouraging that.
Winds to drive the Thomas wildfire into California's
So what did you want me to come back with after this goes on?
The red skeletons.
In the state's
Red skeletons, when this ends, go ahead and just cue that up.
Yeah, just
the 2003 Cedar fire in San Diego, which held the record since 1932. The Thomas wildfires left massive damage in its path as it burned through Santa Barbara and Ventura.
The reason why there's so much fire out there is that they have some kind of, law that you can't destroy shrubbery
Yeah,
and
exactly.
stuff like that. Even in your own yard, they frown on you.
Yeah,
I remember a teacher that I had.
People.
Now I went through the 7th grade.
And that's why when that stuff sets up and burns, it's all that dead stuff.
Well, and consider something.
As quickly as they could.
How
Well,
many
we now know a bit more
Islamic
about Santa Claus.
radicals do we have
actually
here?
surveyed nearly
Understand it
700
takes
Santas
one
across the
jihadist
country on
and
the
one
most
firecracker
important naughty or nice question. The survey
to start
finds
that
that
forest
83% of Santas find
If
most
the
people
jihadists
nice.
ever
Other
figure
fun
out
facts, Santa's average
what they
age
can
is
do
61.
with just this much money,
83% of Santas
they'll
are
destroy this
married.
country.
96% of them
You
are
think about
white,
when
and
it's
his
real
average
dry
weight is
in the
257
drive
pounds.
down the highway with a firecracker, throw it out the window, and you start a forest fire.
Jerry Baumgarten,
Even a cigarette.
An Alpine chalet near the French border, where Popes John Paul II and Benedict
something else
spent
they
some
haven't figured out
vacations,
yet.
is now up for sale.
I can go down here to Lowe's
the chalet,
and
selling
buy
property in the mountain hamlet of
a
Beccles and
5-gallon
Valdosta
tank of
because
propane.
difficulties in
Do
managing
you know how many
it.
people you
I'm
can
also
kill with a 5-gallon
Fox
tank of propane? It's a
I remember a teacher that I had.
$50.
Now I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to. This is true. I work in the summer. I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time. Anyhow, he had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell.
What did that one act cost the people? You just say, if the terrorists ever,
I've been listening to you boys and girls
if they ever get smarter than what they are now, it's going to be disastrous.
And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country. and 2 words have been added to the pledge.